So why take power away from local election officials to decide how best to administer elections in their area?
I'm not questioning their motives. They say that it was for COVID-19. I'll take their word for it. The legislature sets the law for the whole state. Locals follow that law. Picking up groceries and going to the bank is not quite as important as voting. Secret ballot matters to us in Texas. If you're jammed in a car with someone looking over your shoulder, you're not casting a secret ballot. Also, testimony was that poll watchers weren't there to make sure the rules were being followed. But I was on a call with one of my Democratic colleagues, and he admitted drive-through voting is not done in Texas.
Okay. But really quick, if secret voting, secret ballots are so important, why is Texas, under this bill, allowing poll watchers to use their own discretion and decide to videotape someone filling out a ballot if they're getting assistance? Doesn't that undercut that argument?
We had testimony from Democrats, a prosecutor in the Rio Grande Valley, failed Democratic candidates who talked about cheating. They told us folks come in and claim to be helping voters, but in fact, they're intimidating them and forcing their will on them. Voters came to us after the fact and complained. That provision's to make sure voters are casting their ballots, not being influenced by someone else. And
but
again,
they could be intimidated by the poll watchers. Do you concede that that could happen if they're being videotaped by poll watchers, which is, I believe, unprecedented?
Yes, it is unprecedented. This is what SB 7 does. This is what this man authored in his bill in a legislature that only meets once every 2 years after their grid failed majestically, failed so badly that 59 people froze to death. He decided his time would be best spent allowing poll watchers to bring video cameras to the polls in the name of preserving the secret ballot. And his argument is that when you drove through and you voted that way, somebody in the back seat of your car could see who you were voting for, and that's not a secret ballot. They take it really seriously in Texas. So that's why he felt he had to act and change the law from allowing people to vote in their car in a mobile voting place in the middle of a pandemic, which, by the way, a conservative judge in Texas ruled is permitted under Texas law. Okay? That's why they had to change the law. And now they're telling you, in this ironic twist of language, in this crazy screw with people's, ability to think sort of a argument, they're saying, well, we believe so strongly in the secret ballot that if you were sitting in your car and there was somebody in your back seat, they could see who you were voting for. And we take it so seriously that we are going to end you being able to vote in your car, return you back to lines that are 5, 6, 7 hours long because we refuse to relieve the pressure. And we're going to allow the poll watchers that this Republican commission, that videotape that I just showed you, they're saying that they needed the people from the lily white suburbs to go to Houston, to have the courage, to go to Houston and videotape people as poll watchers to intimidate them away from their ballots. That's what. So
I'm trying to get encourage and recruit as a precinct chair about 30 people in my precinct that will have the confidence and courage to come down and hear. In these areas where we really need poll workers, because this is where the fraud is occurring. All right. So me finding poll watchers out here is not, it helps. Yeah. But it's a pretty safe precinct. We've got to get folks in these suburbs out here that have, a lot of Republican folks that got to have the courage. If we don't do that, this fraud down in here is really going to continue.
Okay. There is no fraud down in there. There is no fraud. So who is this guy? This is a Republican election official who's having this crazy Zoom meeting. And the question that he's asked the people in the white suburbs is, can we build a 10,000 person election integrity brigade to go into Houston and videotape the people in Houston as they vote in the name of the secret ballot and preserving it? And that's why they had to get rid of voting in your car, because the person in the back seat could see who you were voting for, and they take it very seriously. I swear to God, this is what they do. All day. This is what Republicans do all day. Think of ways to intimidate people. Think of ways to disenfranchise black and brown voters. Think of ways to turn American on American. Think of ways to put into your head some sort of a theory that you're being, I don't know, replaced or rejected. Or I mean, this is what they do all day. They solve no problems that are legitimate. They don't care about your health, your wealth, your fact base, your info. No, they spend their whole day targeting brown and black people and people who support them. All day. That's what they do. All day, every day. Kenny and Yonkers.
Hey, how you doing, Randy?
How you doing?
Hey, listen, I just want to ask, or at the same time, maybe you would say I want to possibly promote, and by the way, to the guy who answered the phone, I'm not going off the topic, but why can't we just, give people a couple extra Obama minutes or whatever, or Obama data, if you want to call it that, and, give people a freaking phone where they can go online and vote online.
No.
And you won't have to. Well, what would be the big problem with that?
So the big problem, the big problem is you don't want anything to do with voting online. You just don't. In fact, when you go vote, it's not connected to the internet. So.
No, that's true. But why can't you take a picture of your driver's license, take a picture of yourself next to it or whatever, what would be the big issue?
Okay, the issue is if in case of a recount, there's no paper. You want paper. Paper is easy paper.
So they send you an email.
What?
They send you back an email.
With what? It's going to be certified?
Whatever. Listen, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to veer off the topic, but I just had a little bit of a fender bender and I had to get a lawyer to represent me. And they accepted. I had to send them a what do you call it? Like an authorization form, and I had to do the whole thing online. And supposedly all this is legal in a court. So I'm just from the way I'm seeing it right now. It just seems like why can't they do it that way? Everything else is online, banking. Whatever.
Well, we're just not there yet, okay? We're just not. We need paper. Yeah. We just fought really hard to get paper ballots. We just fought really hard to have a paper trail so we could recount, so people could physically hold it in their hands and they could count it, so that other people who question the authenticity or have questions about, how many ballots and what, that we could show them that you could have paper.
Okay. Thanks for taking my call.
Dana in Chicago? No. Brett? No. Oh, I thought there was somebody there.
I was actually just taking that call. I was on with that call, and she was explaining to me something about how the Republicans are not to be blamed and the Democrats are the problem. I'm going to continue taking.
Hello. Hello. No. Was that her? So, yes, this is what's going on. The attack on voting is really out of control. We did not have any cheating in this election. This election was certified state by state. This election, elections are local affairs. Elections are state affairs. Elections are something that the Secretary of State, you have people, you have election supervisors in your county, and they certify the election for your county. Goes up to the state. The state takes a look. They compare the numbers to the voting polls, to the registration books, who signed in, who showed up, who cast a ballot by mail. They compare the numbers. If the numbers match, they certify the election. It's a whole process. But people are so stupid in this country that, they think that if you don't follow a policeman's, a desire for you to let him handcuff you over a broken taillight, that you deserve to die, right? They think that. And they also think that elections can be rigged at a national level and that we must do, something. And what they're doing is disenfranchising themselves. That's what's going to happen. The next election is just a short time away. It's already 2021. We're going to have an election in 2022. It won't be a presidential election. It will be an election for certain Senate seats and every House seat. And people are going to want to vote, and they're going to show up, or they're going to request their ballot, and they're going to find out the laws have changed. And then they're going to start to call people like me, and they're going to say, when did this happen, and why didn't you tell me? So I just wanted to tell you. Because it's going to be harder for, guess what, Republicans to vote too. Oops. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.